Hey, 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 hey. Hey, 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 hey. Black excellence, black beauty, and black pride. Black power from all diasporas coincide. Progressive truth and regression eventually collide. May the beauty of the people no longer be set aside. May the black queen's grace continually mesmerize the millions who couldn't see it when looking into her eyes. And the black man's plight no longer be the disguise. Oppression, emasculation, they wanna castricize him. Take him away from the black queen, put him inside prison for slave labor, he institutionalized. Wondering on the outside, is she willing to ride? Is she willing to ride? Is she willing to fight for the love, even despite the fact that he doing time? Love that conquers all will never fade with time. If she don't choose the love that appreciates every life, his flame might get dim and he may eventually.
Yo, welcome to the Urban Impact Show.
Rob is so loud.
I'm a little bit extra.
Just today or always?
I think it's just me.
Okay.
Shekinah.
Yes.
Black History Month is an annual observance originating in the United States, where it is also known as African American History Month.
Yes.
Now, Black History Month, being that it is this annual observance, it is something that was started by Carter G. Woodson, the father who is also known as the father of the Black History Month. Dr. Carter G. Woodson was born in 1875 in New Canton, Virginia.
Yes.
Also, Black History Month was started in 1926, and it was known as Negro Week. Man, did you know that?
I did. I had the pleasure of going to a school when I was younger that was very, like 365 black. And we learned about black history all the time. And I didn't know that that wasn't normal because that was my elementary school. Shout out to West Englewood Christian Academy in Chicago, Illinois. Whoop, whoop. Yes. Thanks, Mom. And that was cool. So we learned about lots of things with Black History Month and Negro History Week and all of that jazz. But nowadays we have people talking about whether or not this is essential. Do we still need this? Is this really needed in today's age? We've had a black president, blah, 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 blah. I think a very important part of Black History Month is, or purpose, is using history as a source of information, but also as a weapon to not repeat mistakes that have happened in the past or methods of oppression that have happened in the past. Our country has had a very colorful, ugly history with people of color, and we have to know what that is, and we have to work to prevent that. We have gone from slavery to Civil War, segregation, Jim Crow, blackface, the New Deal, redlining, block busting, war on drugs, crime bill. All of these things have been ways of reinventing previous situations that have happened before. And if we don't focus on what that was prior to know what our past was, we cannot effectively use those as weapons to prevent the the rise of our culture and our people in this country.
So for those who don't know, it was started as a week, and it was started as the second week. It was called Negro History Week.
Right.
This week was chosen because it coincided with the birthday of Abraham Lincoln on February 12th and Frederick Douglass on February 14th.
But it's important to note, this was not something that was just given. It wasn't like the government said, we're going to start Negro History Week.
Correct.
No.
Correct. So it was said that Carter G. Woodson felt deeply that a week was not enough for a general movement to begin and annually celebrating African Americans and their struggle and their success in this country. So after he successfully completed Journal of the Negro History, he realized that the subject deserved a lot more than just a week.
Right.
This is what launched African American History Month. That's why it's in February, because Abraham Lincoln, president during the Emancipation Proclamation, and Frederick Douglass, Frederick Douglass being the first African American to ever run for vice president of the United States of America. And one of the smartest African American men to ever walk the planet of the Earth. So I am super excited. Also, one thing I do want to point this out. Black History Month is not just about folks here in America. Right? We also have to understand that what was it called? The Suez Canal. That was a man-made that split Egypt from the Middle East.
I'm not familiar.
So, just a little history lesson on that. Africa and the Middle East were connected. So Egypt is a part of Africa. I want that to be clear because a lot of people keep trying to put
geography is clearly a part of Africa.
But people keep trying to draw this line, trying to put Egypt inside of the Middle East. It's not in the Middle East. Egypt is a part of Africa.
That's a colorism issue. We should deal with that on the show.
So the canal that now splits Egypt to what we know as the Middle East was a man-made canal because it made it easier for trading. So they built that water in the middle of those two. That was actually one piece of land.
Okay.
That was split because they wanted to do better trading. Egypt they took it out from Egypt, and then they began to make Africa this continent, and then they made what is now known as the Middle East. So technically speaking, Middle Easterns were considered at one point Africans.
Fix it, Lord, help us.
I'm this is history. This you can Google this. I just wanted to give you a little bit. This African American.
I never heard of that.
This is Black History Month.
It is Black History Month. Shout out to Carter G. Woodson and all those that came before us. They've done great work. We appreciate you. We are making you proud. Hopefully, that's the plan. I had never heard that. I have visited Cairo, Egypt before, and I was visiting with some friends there. Not really my friends, but whatever. And I had all the people that I met that were from Egypt were saying that they were Middle Eastern, and I didn't understand that. So that helps give me more context. And I kept looking at the map like, Middle East, Egypt. I don't understand why you keep saying you're not African. But that's another story. My work in Egypt was with Sudanese refugees. There was some civil unrest going on about, lots of civil unrest going on in our world today. But about 10 years ago, it was really big for some of our brothers and sisters there. And so I was there trying to help them work through some things. But you are watching the Urban Impact Show.
Yes,
we're talking about whether or not Black History Month is still or needed today, and we want to hear from you. Let us know in the comments. This is a group dialogue and discussion. We have a guest coming up soon. In my humble opinion, Black History Month is unequivocally needed today. We need to know where we came from, the stock in which we are from. We need to be fully informed of weapons that were used prior to minimize a culture and race of people. And we need to make sure that we hold large for-profit publicly traded companies accountable, as well as others, to be inclusive in their practices. You would not see commercials like you see on Google or Jared or Cheerios or Target without Black History Month. So in my humble opinion, absolutely, it is essential. We need to keep that on the books and moving forward, and more than just in 1 month. We need to take pride in ourselves as Black people to continue to teach the next generation and learn ourselves about culture and who we are and where we came from, and make effective plans to move forward.
I'm gonna save my thoughts for the next segment because I want you all to tune in because we got a special guest by the name I call him Dr. Reverend Brandon Spriggs.
Oh my goodness!
He's a good friend. He's a good friend of mine. He's coming up next. He is also a teacher and an administrator over at Joshua Christian Academy, a nice Christian academy school here in the Des Moines area. And so we're
shout out to Joshua Christian Academy.
Shout out.
That's the Des Moines version of West Inglewood Christian Academy.
It really is.
Me and Rob both grew up in Chicago.
Yes, we did.
And this school that I went to was off of Racine. Rob lived blocks away from this school.
Literally.
I didn't know him then.
Yeah, literally.
This is purposeful.
But now we've made the connection. I want you all, when we say, what are we going to take, a 60-second break? Or a 30-second break?
30 seconds.
30 seconds? All right.
We promise.
We promise this time it's going to be a 30-second break. This is all Shekinah's fault if it's not a 30-second break. And I'm doing that because the last show she threw me under the bus 6 times.
You're right.
So I want this to be clear. This is her fault if we don't get back in 30 seconds.
Our fault. We're going to be back.
We coming back. Please share this. Get all your friends involved. Yes. We need to have this conversation. If you feel like Black History Month is no longer needed, let us hear you.
Hit us up.
We want to have this dialogue. We'll be right back. You tune in to the Urban Impact Show.
Urban Impact Show, 30 seconds.
Shekinah's phone.
We're going to make it.
And we are back. Shekinah, what's up, girl?
What is up?
Man, you know, I feel like I haven't talked to you in a while. Like, you know, like I don't
like an hour ago.
You know, did I talk to you a little bit?
And then yesterday.
Did I talk to you yesterday? Oh.
We did, but before yesterday, we hadn't.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, whatever.
Like a week, probably.
That is too funny. Well, hey, everybody. I am one of your hosts, Rob Johnson.
I'm your favorite host, Shekinah.
She says that every time. We are no longer starting to believe that. We have one of my good friends in the building. Let me just say a little bit about him as I introduce him. First of all, let me tell y'all, I called this man up one day and I said, hey, I have a group of young people down at the Juvenile Detention Center. I can't do every Sunday. Are you willing to go down on a Sunday? And he was like, whoa, you know, man, that's a Sunday, Rob. You know, we got cut in the church. I said, I know Spriggs is cutting in the church, but man, let me tell you, I think it'll be powerful. So Spriggs says, you know what, I'm in. He goes down one Sunday. He calls me back, Shekinah, and he says, Rob, I'm in every Sunday. He says, one thing I know about Spriggs is a teacher by heart. And so when he had the opportunity to really teach these young men and these young women that were down there at the Juvenile Detention Center, because it's a different it's a different style, man.
Mm-hmm. It is.
Like I mean, you gotta really like oh yeah, because these kids in there, they ain't gonna let you just slide by. You know, so I'm super excited to have the good Dr. Spriggs in the building with us because this man is an educator, and I just love the fact that he is really teaching our young people. And I know Shekinah is very passionate about teaching our young people, which is why she started Back to School Iowa over 15 years ago, because she wanted young people to yep, that's how old she is, because she wanted young people to really get their education. And also, this is an opportunity for us as a community to support a community school, you know, like Joshua Christian Academy.
Yeah.
So if you have any extra resources laying around, please feel free to donate to Joshua Christian Academy. We want to make sure that we put that out there. And then, Mr. Spriggs, you know, anything you want to say to the, I done felt like I done introduced you myself.
Introduced, preached, benediction, everything. I have to remind him, today is Sunday, yes sir, but you know, we just have a different flow. Welcome to the Urban Impact Show.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much for coming. And you are an educator. Of course, we are talking about today Black History Month.
Yes.
And whether or not that's essential. And I hear that you are, tell us a little bit about what you teach up at Joshua Christian Academy.
Well, right now I'm the administrator for the secondary program, middle and high school.
Okay.
But before that, I was, I've taught all grades from about 4th grade all the way through high school, different subjects, but mostly history and Bible.
Good stuff.
That good Bible.
Bible.
I cannot remember. So, you've been teaching history to our young people, and we figured that he would be a prime candidate to bring on to talk about Black History Month and whether or not that's essential. Because, as you know, some people say that it's not important.
Correct.
We don't need. I'm 365 black. I don't need no.
Yeah, look at your hairstyle. Yeah, look at your hairstyle.
No, he didn't. You know what? Ladies, don't get him. Robert is not ready today. But there's a lot of conversation going on about whether or not we still need that. What is the purpose of Black History Month? Why are we implementing that? We've had a black president, so like, have we arrived? What is the point of continuing in that? So what would you say to people that question whether or not Black History Month is needed?
It's definitely needed. I remember when the NAACP Youth Council for Des Moines was fighting for to get MLK Day off. I remember seeing a kid over, and 2 kids actually from the congregation, Mount Olive, at a McDonald's, and I said, okay, we got this day off because of Martin Luther King, so tell me something about him. Tell me what he did. And I kid you not, one of them looked at me and said, didn't he free the slaves?
Nah.
Sad.
That's when I realized we gotta really teach our history, because for some of them, they just hear a bunch of names and they don't even know the timeline of things that happen and the significance of certain people, certain events. As we already know, if you don't know your history, you're going to repeat it.
Right.
You know, and we don't want to go backward. We want to go forward.
Right. And I feel that we're seeing a lot of things repeated. We talked about earlier in the intro segment that kind of turned into a reunion, because I haven't seen Rob in a little while. Things are being repeated, from slavery to the Civil War, segregation, Jim Crow, the new Jim Crow, got 2000s Jim Crow, a mass incarceration, war on drugs. Now it's, let's get you help. There are several things being repeated within our country that are disproportionately impacting our people, and the sentiment may have changed somewhat, but we're still the ones being at effect of a lot of these negative things that are going on. And so I think that's also very important, like you mentioned, about learning from your history and your past. That's really sad that the youth, and even if he was saying that in just as a joke, when I first heard...
He was serious.
When I first heard...
Spriggs looked a little hurt by it. His heart was hurting after that one. No,
he's a true educator. He is in, like, I work day in, day out for you, and you're going to tell me Martin Luther King freed this left. God bless America. Right. But there's a school within our region. I think the school's in Johnson. I'm not sure. They celebrated Martin Luther King Jr.'s birthday for the first time.
In 2020.
Yes! My mind was blown. Like, what?
The first time ever.
The first time ever they were out of school.
Wow.
Ever. But then, I thought about it, and I remembered when the kids were at DMPS and they were saying they wanted to get that day out of school. And I was like, this is a discussion? Like, why do...
Because it's not like that in Chicago.
Right. I mean, well, we're just
and so Spriggs, can you speak, so as an educator, talking about history and talking about Bible, right? Black history is so important. Can you speak to a little bit of just your interactions with the kids and how we go about getting this education to them? And then also, how important is it for them to see a black man stand up in front of them and teach them this type of history as well?
They're very fascinated with it. At Joshua Christian Academy, for the last maybe 5 years, we've participated in the I'll Make Me a World in Iowa Education Days Black History Game Show contest.
That's right.
This year, I'm proud of my babies, because they brought home the first place trophy for high school and middle school, and so they completely swept the field. I found out in coaching them that they love this. They love to learn about it. And I'm not just talking about black kids, because we're a multicultural school.
Correct.
So we had black, white, Hispanic, Asian, and they all just loved learning this information, things that they and it completes their education. It completes their history education. So they absolutely love it. I would say that if we're going to continue to get them involved in this, to have game shows, to make, kids respond to that. Even on the music scene, just making it available to them. We may not get them in the classroom to memorize every single thing, but a rapper can, especially if it's somebody that they listen to.
Yes.
And, a game show makes it fun to learn about it. Plus, there's a reward at the end. And I even remember, like, Kevin Hart last year having that little special that he did. I think it was on Netflix or something like that, where he was talking to his daughter, or I guess that was his daughter. It might have been an actor or something, but on his special, he was telling her and her white friend about Black history events. I sat down and watched it with my daughter, and it was the best conversation I had sitting on my living room couch.
Yeah.
So we need things like that to continue to happen, so that all young people can learn Black history.
This question is for you both. It's for Shekinah and you, Spriggs. Okay.
I don't get many questions, so I'm excited.
Because I'm interested, because I know at least one person who I've had a conversation with since you and I talked yesterday, who was like, Black History Month isn't needed. We have we had Barack Obama, we got Oprah, and for lack of a better, we got Oprah, Gail, we got LeBron, Jay-Z, Beyonce. They're like, black folks are thriving in this country, and if they're thriving in this country, what is the use of Black History Month any longer, right? Because everything that they have done, these people are now walking in that, and now we have to focus on getting these group of young babies that are born today, that were born yesterday, born last year. We have to prepare them for the world that they're going to be living in coming up in 2030, 2040, 2050. And talking about freeing slaves isn't going to help them overcome artificial intelligence. Isn't going to help them know what's going on with coding or the new wave of technology or the new music wave, or help them fit into a global economy that is changing every day. So teaching them that, oh man, slaves were freed and emancipated, by Abraham Lincoln, and so teaching them that, it serves no purpose, because they're going to look back and that group is going to see Barack Obama as the 44th president. That group is going to look back and see Jay-Z made $1 billion and Oprah was a billionaire. Michael Jordan was almost a billionaire. And, a group of people are, so we're the same
That's
age.
Their
right?
new norm. The
right.
next generation is their new norm.
Exactly. So we're all in our 30s, right? And so all of us in our 30s, our norm isn't them being successful, right? We understand a little bit of what our parents and their parents had to struggle with. We get it just a little bit. Especially, I can relate to Shekinah on this, because we grew up in Chicago, which is one of the most segregated cities still in the country, right? What do we say to people who are like, look, Shekinah's, that is their new norm. Like, what, like, we got billionaires. What do we say to people then?
I can go first if you'd like more time.
Go for it.
So, or just from home court advantage.
There you go.
I would say to those people, your history is used as a weapon to fight against continued systems of oppression. Systems have not changed. You may call it a different name, but the system has not changed. Yes, we have had a black president of the United States, but we've also had how many young black men gunned down by individuals in this country? That has not changed. Redlining has not changed. Housing discrimination has not changed. We have yet to see a black female president of the United States of America. That has not changed. As long as our youth and things still aren't equal, to be clear, they are not equal. As long as specific communities are disproportionately impacted by things that happen in this country, we are not effectively using our history as a weapon to prevent against further oppression. So it's not over. It has not changed. Yes, we have seen some measures of success. Shout out to all the forefathers and people that are presently fighting for those things today. But the war is far from over. We have for-profit prisons being built off of third grade test scores. Right. The crack epidemic versus what's going on today with meth, and it's far from over. When you look at advertisement and you don't see yourself represented in those spaces, but other people are represented in those spaces, and you're told that this is your country. We just got an African American museum in DC. And I had gone to DC several times before, right? Mm-hmm. And I was like, oh, okay, it's DC. You have these monuments, you have, I'm learning about Civil War, all of these things. But it wasn't until that museum came that I understood this is how I fit into this story. Mm-hmm. And we don't tell our people how you fit into this story. We built this city. No, we built this city. Let's be clear. So Black History Month is beyond a question of whether or not we need it. This is essential. This is against the law. We are trying to get the board. Any spades players, we ain't even that bored. We are trying to get to equal. We talked about separate but equal so long ago. We still ain't equal. We're not. And these are guardrails, in my humble opinion. It's like saying maybe we need to remove, I was just talking with somebody about this earlier. Maybe we need to remove affirmative action, because that's what you should do, right? Yes, that's what you should do, but we have guardrails in place for a reason. Because when people go beyond those rails, when people do things that are not right, the rails are clearly there to remind you, beep, beep, who got the keys to the Jeep? But we need those rails in place. We need that standard. We need other groups coming up to clearly understand you have these rights, you have these privileges, because a different group that may not have looked like you and still is not fully accepted in this country as equal partner in building this place has fought, died, still fighting, still incarcerated, still sought after in a different way, same crime than you are today. We pay respect and homage to everybody and they mama. Abraham Lincoln down to, I don't know, we got a day for everything now. We got like the Chipotle day. We got burrito day. We're paying respect and homage to all these people, and it's important to pay respect and homage in our American culture. But the one group that I do not see the respect and homage coming to on a regular basis, as it should, because Black history is a part of American history, is Black people. So yes, I think it's essential, and I'd love to talk with anyone who would love to talk with me about why it's not essential. I don't want to ward them off, because I genuinely want to understand if people do feel that way, and that deeply concerns me. We are able to have a candidate like the candidates that we have and the wide variety of them because people fought for that, who did not look like them, and they don't look like them, who are currently represented on the ballot today. So I have a problem when you step up and you're enjoying the spoils of something else that somebody else did for you, and you're like aloof to who fought and who got you here. Yeah. Respect the process is all I'm saying.
Yeah. Spriggs, before we take a break, go.
Okay, I think that if we don't celebrate it, if we don't learn it being Black history, then we lose part of our identity. I totally agree with what Shekinah was saying. If you don't see yourself in history, then how did we get here? What part do I play in the present and in the future? I think it's important for our students, our young people, to definitely see themselves throughout the history, throughout even the making of this country, the major things that have happened. I've taught curriculums where they said that they did not call the Negro spirituals. They called them plantation worker songs. There's a problem with that, because the worker indicates that there was a wage paid. You know what I'm saying?
That's the preacher in them coming out.
This is a problem for me. And so if you learn in plantation work, they were working. You know, this was a choice, and you know it wasn't so bad. Somebody said it was a choice. So anyway,
that was Brother Kanye. Forgive Brother Kanye.
All right, I'm just saying.
Forgive him.
From our city.
Grace and mercy.
And that's why we need to continue.
That's a good point.
Black history, I mean, it's definitely needed so that my daughter can see herself throughout history and know she had a big major role, and people like her had a big major role in making this country a great place.
Cool.
Thank you.
Hey, we're gonna take a quick what we gonna do, 30 seconds, 60 seconds?
60 seconds, because we want to give you an opportunity to continue to chime in. Annie McKnight, we see you. Lady, thank you for your yay! He'sTheBomb.com, Cornerstone Family Church.
Hey, real quick, I saw that picture that Pastor Dan posted online with Harriet Tubman. It was like she was stepping through a brick wall with her hand extended.
Come through, Pastor Dan.
For people to come on in, and I was scrolling through and I happened to just see it, and I was like, oh, that's pretty dope. And then I scrolled back up and it was still there. You know, that never happens.
Right.
So I scrolled back up, it was still there, and I saw that it was Pastor Dan who had posted that. So huge shout out to that.
Yes.
You know,
Pastor Dan is all about that crossing cultural ethnic denominational lines.
So we're gonna take a 60-second break. If we're not back in 60 seconds, it's Shekinah's fault. And I just want to always throw that out there. Listen, y'all, this is so important to have this conversation because We want people to understand. And when we come back, we're going to be talking about those who've laid the foundation for us. But also, though, Black history didn't start with slaves. It started with kings and queens in Egypt and Ethiopia and other parts of Africa that were enslaved due to a slave trade. And so we're going to, we got a teacher in the building.
That would be you, sir.
I was looking around.
And so, we're excited. So thank you all for tuning in. We'll be right back in 60 seconds. And if we're not, it's Shekinah's fault.
Urban Impact Show. How many seconds was that? How many?
Let me tell y'all something. We have such a good time here at the Urban Impact Show.
We do.
I am so excited that we were gifted the opportunity to even do this. So thank you so much, Shekinah, for being my co-host. And thank you, Dr. Reverend Prelate, Apostle.
More titles.
I like that. Humility. No respect your person.
Reverend Brandon Spriggs, administrator over at Joshua Christian Academy here in Des Moines, Iowa. For those of you who are watching from all over, whether it be Chicago, LA, Detroit. Last time we checked, William, we had people down in Alabama. Mm-hmm. We had a couple people watching from Alabama. We had a couple people watching from Florida. So good old Florida, So
what are we talking about today, Rob?
So we're talking about why, or let's just ask the question, is Black History Month still needed? So is it essential for us to have these conversations talking about Black history? And obviously we have argued our point here that yes it is still needed. Real quick, I do want to shout this out though, Shekinah.
Yes, sir.
That people that we also have to make sure that when we're talking about Black history, that we also talk about people like Deidre DeGear, right, mm-hmm. who broke barriers by campaigning and earning her vote, by getting the vote of winning a spot for the very first time in Iowa history, mm-hmm. right? We talking 2018, mm-hmm. yeah, the very first time in Iowa history that somebody ran and won the votes to actually become nominated by a major party in the state, right? Mm-hmm. Like for a statewide ticket, right? We also have to talk about people like Helen Miller, Akeo, Wayne Ford, mm-hmm. right? We have to talk about people like that, and really those individuals paved the way so that people like us could have a pathway to even walk on, right?
Representative Ford is on the line too.
A walkway to even work on. But Black history did not start just with slaves, right? And I feel like sometimes, Reverend Spriggs, I feel like we go back and we're teaching kids like this is where it started, right? Mm-hmm. Like a lot of them, they hear Harriet Tubman, they hear Sojourner Truth, they hear all of these people during the slave days, mm-hmm. and it didn't start there. Black history goes way far back. Even looking from the Bible perspective, Black history goes way further back than we can even probably fathom with our thought. What's your thought on making sure that our kids are educated on stuff further back than just slavery?
It is definitely needed because we, like you said, we don't want them to think that we just started with slaves. Well, how did we get to this country? Yep. What did we do before that? We don't want it to seem like we had this miserable beginning, but knowing that we had kingdoms and empires over in Egypt. It's not talked about much in our history books. They mention like the first kingdom, the middle kingdom, and all of that over in Africa, but that's about it.
That's about it. Yeah.
From the biblical perspective, I think KRS-One had a song.
All right. Yes. From the biblical perspective, KRS-One.
Yeah. Great preacher by the name of KRS-One.
Great philosopher.
Yeah, great prognosticator of the gospel. Said, he gave us a rundown of human history, but through the Bible, talking about all the different people who were black in the Bible. So definitely Google KRS-One talking about that because he drops knowledge in that. But also realizing that Christianity, I'm a Christian, Christianity went to Africa first before it spread it to Europe and then came over to America. In the book of Acts, Philip, disciple of Jesus, shares the gospel with an Ethiopian eunuch. And for those of us who past geography, we know Ethiopia is in Africa. And so
it's the only African country to never be colonized.
There you go. And so he takes it back to Ethiopia and spreads the gospel there. And so then we have Alexander, we have all of these great people who started churches and spread Christianity down there before it came here. So why don't we talk about these things? Why don't we mention them? I think the Bible doesn't hide it. I think we just have not been taught to. Yeah,
and people don't know that these were black people.
Right.
These folks were skinned it.
Yeah.
And one thing I always one person I always mention when I'm talking about Ethiopia is Haile Selassie, right? Being the king that actually stopped colonization of Ethiopia because he fought the Italians and won. They had all kinds of weapons against these Ethiopians, but he was very strategic and it was rooted in his faith. And he's not even talked about in black history. Right? And when Ethiopians migrated to the United States, they brought over what Haile Selassie taught them. And let's not also forget that Haile Selassie is a black man who is the 230 descendant of King Solomon.
All right, come through.
And so if he is looking like somebody like us, then what do you think Solomon looked like? Somebody. And then Solomon daddy.
Hey man, it's there. Moses was able to hide in Africa. You can't hide if you don't look like these people.
Jesus went where?
Jesus went
to Egypt.
Which is Africa.
We are going to have another show on faith. This is going to happen. I'm all about it. Yes, go Jesus. We are talking about Black History Month and whether or not you heard that is essential. And they were there. I mean, I'm all about it. I love the Lord. I do.
Hey, real quick, Shekinah, tell us about I'll Make Me a World.
I'll Make Me a World in Iowa. So, some people may not know. I'll Make Me a World in Iowa has been around for how many years, Rob? Will?
22 years.
22 years.
That's why we keep Will, because Will's like
the brains of the operation.
Yeah, Will is definitely like our personal
another
Google.
Brain outside. He is like Google. I'll Make Me a World in Iowa is a celebration of African American history, and it's to help encourage and influence the youth with the education day. And then there's usually like a gala evening the night before, and then that Saturday is an entire day
of
festivities, celebration, wobble contest, different artists come out.
Shout out to Betty Andrews.
Yes, Betty Andrews, shout out to you for keeping that going. We need that. That usually kicks off in the end of January to get you excited and prepared for February.
Correct.
Black History Month. I had somebody I was talking to a little while ago. They were like, I miss I'll Make Me a World.
Yes, she did.
And I was like, it kicks off Black History Month. Yes, this is February. Like, but some people don't know that, so no shade. I'll Make Me a World in Iowa. Google that, look into that. Every year in the end of January, so the last couple of days of January, that last weekend is when we will be celebrating that. And I know sometimes it gets challenging, right? You're like, oh, I'll Make Me a World is going on. I don't know if I really want to go down there. We need that support.
We need that.
We need to continue to support events like that. And if you're like, well, they have things going on that maybe you're not interested in, or you want to see something different, be the change that you wish to see.
Yeah, join the team because they're asking for volunteers right now. Join the team and put your ideas out there.
Definitely. You got to, right? If you don't use it, you lose it. And if we don't have it, that will be a detriment.
It would
not just to our youth, but we see droves and droves of people that are coming to our state to live now. And Iowa, especially during like political time, fly over country. When you think of Iowa, what do you think of? I'll Make Me a World? No, that's not what you think of. But we are here and we want to represent that culture. It has a rich pride and history when it comes to that of people of color and specifically Black people. And I'll Make Me a World in Iowa is a great opportunity to rep that and get a better understanding for that.
Yeah, so I'll Make Me a World kicks us off. We get to we get to February, and then we're here celebrating Black History Month. And then come in June, you have Iowa Juneteenth.
Yes.
And so Iowa Juneteenth then goes head on and kicks off exactly what we need.
What is Iowa Juneteenth, Rod?
So Iowa Juneteenth is the celebration of when the slaves were actually freed, and it talks about and it actually brings to the forefront an opportunity for us to celebrate that moment in history where that note made it to those that were down south.
That's our 4th of July. Correct.
It made it to those down south, and Juneteenth is celebrated all over the country, even all over the world in certain areas, and so it's an opportunity for us to come together again. And so I get that some people are like, "Oh my God, it's the same," but we need to support these organizations. We need to support these schools. We need to support these businesses. Because if we don't, then somebody else will control the narrative. Shekinah, you and I started this show with how our executive producer. We started this show because we wanted to help control the narrative,
right?
Because we wanted to help educate not just our friends,
right,
but also anybody who would listen. And so huge shout out to everybody who's watching. Thank you so much. But yeah, Black History Month. Is it still needed? I believe a resounding answer from us here at the Urban Impact Show is absolutely.
Right. Absolutely. Definitely is needed. When you talk about things like Black Wall Street,
yes, in
Tulsa, or the Greenwich District in Tulsa specifically, the race riot in 1921, and I specifically talk about, and even Solomon talks about, there's nothing new under the sun. But when you go back and you read about what happened in 1921 and the economy that blacks had set up in Greenwood, and how there were specific mobs and riots that came there to disseminate that. We're talking about economic breakdowns that generations are impacted by, right? When you look at those photos of those mobs, and then you look just a couple of years ago to tiki torches in South Carolina. Was it South Carolina? North
South Carolina. They were marching right there on the streets of South Carolina.
And they were talking about the statue of Robert E. Lee. Stop it. Talking about the statue of Robert E. Lee, and the situation that engulfed that. If you look at those two situations, there's nothing new under the sun, right? How can we learn from previous situations? How can we use history to be better equipped to move forward and prevent continued systems of oppression from happening? We need things like this. We need to be informed about Black Wall Street. We need to be informed about Buxley, Iowa. Is it Buxton?
Yeah.
I'm obviously learning that better.
That's all right.
Buxton. I heard there was an event. Will told us. And the event was yesterday. I'm mad I missed it. I thought it was today.
I missed it, yeah.
But just talking about the rich history of Black people and how...
You better text your mom before she goes.
Right. I think she went already. Sorry, Mom. The rich history of Black people and how in our very own state, in Buxton, Iowa, they were able to galvanize and create a kind of a Black Wall Street there. I know you said you had some info for us on that. What can you share about Buxton?
I've talked with people who actually, their parents may have lived in Buxton or grew up in Buxton, but just the fact that it was a city, the elected officials were like you said, the Black Wall Street elected officials were Black people. They were really economically empowered to
make things happen.
Yeah. I think it was a coal mining town, if I might be right about that. And so they were just very efficient in building that city up. I remember watching a PBS special, and it's on. You can probably
on
YouTube.
Buxton, Iowa.
Yeah, Buxton, Iowa.
I just learned this today
because I use YouTube a lot to try and teach my students, and so
because YouTube is teaching your students.
Yeah,
right.
For this generation.
you. They're gonna get on YouTube.
They're gonna do it. So you have something that they can go back to and finish the conversation. And I remember watching that and just thinking, wow, this was so powerful. What happened to it? And that's about as far as I got in the documentary. I don't know exactly why it's not around anymore, but for my daughter growing up in Iowa, she needs to know that this existed at one time.
Definitely. Our people perish for a lack of knowledge, whether you are of that faith or not. It's a fact. We see examples of that on a regular basis, from Central Park 5 to Sandra Bland to our brother Abdi, that we still are not clear on where he is.
The community definitely needs help in finding him, and so whatever you can do. People don't just disappear. Something happened, and we need to help bring closure to that family.
Hold that in high regard and make sure we take care of us, right? And so is Black History Month needed? We're talking about that today on the Urban Impact Show. All three of us happen to agree. We feel that it very much so is needed. You use the history to learn to minimize systems of oppression. Thank God for allies and those side by side in the fight to get those things done. There are people or things present that may want history to be represented in a different way, and so it's very important that we talk to one another and we read and we teach our youth what really happened and what is really happening. We were talking about the Tulsa race riots and the Black Wall Street there, but also the greatness that we had going on right here in our state in Iowa. Iowa is not separated, though Iowa obviously is in the north. It is not like a savior complex for the race issues that we've had in our country, not at all. But there is some great history here dealing with Black people and the WAC officers down at the Fort Des Moines Museum, and some other history that we may not be as proud of. But there's lots to learn and lots to know, and we should stay in contact with I'll Make Me a World in Iowa to get more information on that. Looking into what happened in Buxton, Iowa. There are a couple events going on. It's still Black History Month. There are several events, resources at your local library.
Will be posted on our Facebook page.
Yes, we are doing all of that. We have Dr. Reverend Brandon Spriggs with us of Joshua Christian Academy, dropping some gems and spreading some knowledge on Black History Month, as he is a professor in history and just connected one-on-one with our young people. And we've heard from a lot of you on whether or not you think it's important and why we should or should not continue to celebrate that.
Yeah, so we've come to the close here of our show, and we're super excited. As always, Shekinah and I try to do our best to, along with our executive producer Hal Dixon, manager Will Sims, Tennille Thomas, Nicole Hoskins, and Matt King, our whole team, we try our best to bring you what we can to educate and to keep you interested in definitely in our brand and in this show. Final thoughts, you two, and then I'll give mine and we'll sign off.
My final thought would be just learn as much as you can. Black history is a part of American history, it's a part of our world history, but don't let anybody erase your identity and what you brought to this whole story of our human history.
Shekinah?
There is nothing new under the sun. And sadly, we have not come to a place where we have been able to equally value the contributions of Black people to the United States of America as we have our counterparts. We are not reflected best in media and stories, but we're not always at effect of that, and we have the power to mobilize and effectively create the change that we wish to see. And so I am encouraged and excited to work alongside you to help create a better world for the people coming after us, and to stay informed and educated on what my people have gone through for the progression of our country.
My final thought is this, y'all. We have to make sure that we continue to stay in this fight. Systematic racism is a real thing. It's in our court systems, it's in our school systems, and so until it's also in our banks, it's in our finances, it's here. And so we have to do a good job at making sure that we're fighting systematic racism. Learn your history, not just those of those who have laid the foundation before us and those who have come before them, those from Africa. But then ask yourself this question. What Black history are you making today? What will the history books say about you in 2030, 2040, and in 2050? Will you have made a difference? Would you have been someone that we would recognize in Black history? Thank you for your time today. You've tuned in to the Urban Impact Show. I'm one of your hosts, Rob Johnson.
I am your favorite host, Shekinah Young. We got
shout out to
Urban City Magazine.
Yes, Urban City Magazine. Shout out also, don't forget about the networking opportunity that they're going to be having on February 21st at
your private. We put the flyer up. Y'all saw that at your private bar. It's going to be good stuff. Networking and getting to know folks, but also the debut of the magazine. We got Black History Month t-shirts for sale. Make sure you connect with Urban City Magazine and the Urban Impact Show on all of the social media. Thank you so much.
Shout out to Joshua Christian Academy.
Shout out to Joshua Christian Academy. I know that's right. I appreciate that institution.
I'll Make Me a World, Juneteenth. Let's stay in support. Yes. NAACP, Jack and Jill. Shouts out to all of the other organizations.
MPHC, all the Greeks.
Yep.
The links. Bootleg.
Yep.
All of that. All of that.
We appreciate you all. Thank you so much for your support. We hope you continue to tune in to the Urban Impact Show.
We'll see you soon.